Before you continue listening, pause for a moment. Place your hand over your heart and take a slow, steady breath. Let yourself become fully present, because what you are about to hear is more than just a collection of words. It may be the message your soul has quietly been waiting to receive. If this message has reached you today, do not dismiss it as a coincidence. Some truths reveal themselves only when we are emotionally ready to understand them. There is a reason your emotions have felt stronger lately. There is a reason certain memories continue to return when you least expect them. Somewhere, someone has been holding your name in silence, carrying thoughts they have never found the courage to speak. And now, the universe is quietly bringing the right circumstances together for an important meeting. Someone meaningful is preparing to come into your life with something they can no longer keep hidden. Take one more slow, deep breath before you listen to the rest, because this message is not meant to feel ordinary. If it has found you today, perhaps it is because your heart is finally ready to receive it. There is someone, whether they are still part of your life or someone from your past, who thinks about you much more often than you realize. They may have stayed silent. They may have created distance between the two of you. On the outside, it may have seemed as though they had moved on without looking back. But beneath that silence, something has changed. A quiet transformation has been taking place inside them, one they can no longer ignore. Soon, this person will find their way back toward you. It will not happen by accident, nor will it be an ordinary conversation or a casual reunion. They are coming because the weight of everything they have been carrying has become too heavy to hold alone. There is a truth they have kept hidden for a long time, and now they feel a deep need to finally share it with you. What they are about to say may truly surprise you. Some connections seem to exist beyond logic. Time may pass, distance may grow, and silence may last for months or even years. Yet certain emotional bonds refuse to disappear. They remain alive beneath the surface, untouched by pride, misunderstandings, or physical separation. Perhaps you have experienced unusual moments recently. Thoughts of this person suddenly appeared in your mind without any clear reason. You unexpectedly heard their name during a conversation. They appeared in your dreams with surprising clarity. Or maybe you felt strong emotions that seemed to arrive without explanation, leaving you wondering where they came from. Many people dismiss experiences like these as simple coincidences, but sometimes they feel like quiet reminders that certain emotional connections continue to exist, even when there has been no contact for a long time. It is almost as if an invisible thread still connects two people whose paths have separated, gently pulling their thoughts back toward one another despite the silence between them. Whether you see these moments as intuition, meaningful coincidence, or simply your mind returning to an unfinished chapter, they often carry a powerful emotional meaning. And when those feelings continue returning again and again, they naturally make you wonder whether something important is still waiting to happen. Before they ever thought about reaching out, they did everything they could to bury these feelings. They kept themselves busy. They filled their days with distractions. They convinced themselves they had already let go and that life had moved forward. But whenever the world became quiet, especially late at night, one thought always returned: you. No matter how hard they tried to push your memory away, it always found its way back into their mind. In time, emotions that remain unspoken create a pressure that cannot stay hidden forever. That is why this meeting feels as though it has been building for a very long time. From the outside, they may appear completely fine. Perhaps they seem confident, successful, or even genuinely happy. But appearances rarely reveal what is happening deep inside. Within themselves, they have been caught in an emotional struggle that very few people around them would ever notice. They replay the moments the two of you shared over and over again. They remember your voice, your smile, your expressions and conversations that once seemed ordinary, but now carry a much deeper meaning. Small details they barely noticed before have become impossible to forget. Questions continue to circle through their mind. Why do these feelings still remain? Why have I never truly moved on? Why has no one else created the same connection? Those questions have slowly led them to a realization they never expected. The answer is not an easy one because it forces them to admit something they tried to avoid for a long time. You meant much more to them than they were ever willing to admit. Even harder is accepting that what happened between the two of you was not simply the result of bad timing or unfortunate circumstances. Deep inside, they are beginning to realize that they played an important part in creating the distance between you. They now understand they did not fully value the connection while they still had the chance, and that realization has become too heavy to ignore. You may naturally wonder, if they truly feel all of this, why did they stay silent for so long? The answer is not simply that they did not care. Fear stood in their way. They feared rejection. They feared discovering that your life had already moved forward without them. They feared your strength, your independence, and the possibility that you no longer needed them. More than anything, they feared facing the choices they wish they could now change. Remaining silent felt easier than risking an honest conversation. As long as nothing was said, they could avoid facing the consequences of their own decisions. But silence has its own price. With every day that passed without reaching out, the unspoken truth only grew louder inside them. What once felt like protection slowly turned into emotional exhaustion. Eventually, avoiding the conversation became far more painful than finally having it. And that is why they are now reaching the point where staying silent is no longer possible. The truth they have carried for so long is asking to be spoken, and the moment to share it is drawing closer than either of you may realize. That was the moment they realized silence could no longer give them the peace they had been searching for. Recently, something happened that completely changed the direction of their thoughts. It may have seemed like an ordinary moment. Perhaps they saw you smiling, heard news about your life, came across an old memory, or found themselves surrounded by people while still feeling completely alone. Whatever it was, it reached a place inside them they could no longer ignore. In that moment, one thought became impossible to deny. If I never speak my truth, I will carry this regret for the rest of my life. That realization was not driven by impulse or temporary emotion. It came from a much deeper place, a quiet certainty that continuing to hide their feelings was no longer an option. This is not simply a conversation to catch up or exchange polite words. They are not coming back just to ask how you have been. They are coming to express everything they never had the courage to say, the emotions they hid behind pride, the regrets they carried in silence, the feelings they convinced themselves would eventually disappear, but never truly did. For a long time, you may have believed they were emotionally distant, unaffected, or completely detached from everything that happened between you. But the truth may be very different. They cared much more deeply than they ever allowed themselves to show. Their emotions were stronger than their actions revealed. Much of what they felt remained hidden behind fear, hesitation, and the inability to be vulnerable. Understanding this may completely change the way you see the silence that existed between you. The words they have been holding back are not something they have shared with anyone else. They have replayed this conversation countless times in their mind, wondering how they could explain everything they have carried for so long. And when they finally stand before you, the truth they reveal will not only be about the past, it will be the honesty they wish they had spoken from the very beginning. They have imagined this moment more times than they could ever count. In their thoughts, this conversation has happened over and over again. They have pictured every possible outcome, your expression, your silence, your questions, and even the possibility that you might simply walk away. No matter how many times they have rehearsed it, they still do not know what will happen when the moment finally arrives. But one thing has become absolutely clear. They can no longer keep pretending. Whatever the outcome may be, they know they must speak honestly. Even if telling the truth means risking everything they still hope for, they would rather face that uncertainty than continue hiding behind silence. The words they have wanted to say are simple, yet incredibly difficult. I was wrong. I did not handle what we had the way I should have. I did not truly understand how to love you in the way you deserved. For someone who has spent so long protecting their pride, admitting these words feels even harder than losing the relationship itself. Lowering those emotional walls requires a level of vulnerability they have avoided for a very long time. Sometimes distance reveals what closeness never could. When someone is always present, it is easy to overlook the value they bring into your life. Only after they are gone does their absence become impossible to ignore. That is exactly what has been happening inside them. Time has given them a new perspective. They have begun to recognize the qualities in you that they once took for granted. Your calm presence brought a sense of peace they never fully appreciated. Your loyalty was never temporary, it was real. Your kindness was never an act. The care you gave came from a sincere and genuine place. As they continued living their life, they found themselves comparing new experiences and new people to what they once shared with you. Again and again, something felt missing, not because everyone else lacked something, but because the connection you shared carried a depth they failed to recognize until it was gone. Now, they understand that what existed between you was never ordinary. It was not just another relationship or another chapter in life. It was the kind of connection many people spend years searching for, but never truly find. As much as they want to see you again, they are also deeply afraid of what happens next, because once the truth is spoken, there is no returning to silence. Everything changes the moment honesty enters the room. They know they are risking disappointment. They may face rejection. They may discover that you have completely moved on. They may receive the closure they feared all along. Yet, despite all those possibilities, they have realized something even more painful. Living with unanswered questions and lifelong regret feels far heavier than facing whatever answer you choose to give. So instead of remaining safely hidden behind silence, they are choosing courage, even though courage comes with no promises or guarantees. This message is not only about their journey, it is also about yours. You have changed. You have grown through experiences that once tested your strength. You have learned difficult lessons. You have become stronger, wiser, and far more emotionally balanced than you were before. Because of that growth, do not approach this meeting from a place of expectation or emotional dependence. Meet it with clarity and confidence. Listen carefully to what they say, but do not let beautiful words alone decide your future. Pay close attention to consistency. Notice their actions. Watch whether the way they behave truly reflects the truth they are speaking. Words can create hope, but lasting change is always shown through actions. Honesty without responsibility has very little value. Real transformation is something that can be seen, not simply promised. Trust what you observe just as much as what you hear. When this meeting finally happens, something about it may feel different from every interaction you have shared before. The conversation may carry a quiet sense of honesty, peace, and emotional openness that was missing in the past. You may notice that both of you have changed in ways neither of you expected. The weight of old misunderstandings may begin to fade, making space for a deeper understanding. Whatever happens next, remember that this moment is not only about looking back, it is also about deciding with wisdom and self-respect what kind of future you truly want to create. Time may seem to slow down. The sounds around you may quietly fade into the background. You may feel an unusual sense of familiarity that is difficult to explain, almost as if your heart recognizes something before your mind has time to understand it. Whether you see that feeling as intuition, emotional memory, or simply the experience of reconnecting with someone who once meant so much to you, the moment is likely to carry a unique emotional weight. You will sense that this is not an ordinary conversation. It may feel like the ending of one chapter and the beginning of another, where truths that remained hidden for so long finally have the chance to be spoken openly. What happens after that will depend not only on the words that are shared, but also on the choices both of you make once the silence has finally been broken. When the moment finally arrives, you may feel its energy before a single word is spoken. The atmosphere could feel heavier than expected, filled with emotion, anticipation, and everything that has remained unsaid for so long. There may be quiet pauses, lingering eye contact, and moments where silence speaks louder than conversation ever could. Whether you see this meeting as destiny, perfect timing, or simply the result of unfinished emotions, it carries an important purpose. Its role is not always to bring two people back together. Sometimes its purpose is simply to bring honesty into the light. At times, truth opens the door to a new beginning. At other times, it provides the closure both hearts have quietly needed. Either way, this meeting exists to reveal what has remained hidden. After carrying these feelings for so long, there is one truth they can no longer avoid. They never truly stopped loving you. They tried everything they could to convince themselves otherwise. They buried themselves in work, new routines, distractions, and perhaps even new relationships. They believed that time alone would erase what they felt. But real emotions rarely disappear simply because we ask them to. Instead, they remain quietly beneath the surface, returning whenever the heart becomes still enough to hear them. Eventually, pretending becomes more exhausting than accepting the truth. Now, they are ready to admit what they have denied for so long, not because they are certain of the outcome, but because they can no longer live as if those feelings never existed. Whatever happens after this conversation, life will not be exactly the same. Perhaps it opens the door to a completely new chapter built on honesty, trust, and greater understanding. Perhaps it becomes the conversation that finally allows both of you to move forward without unanswered questions. Either outcome has meaning. Unfinished stories have a way of remaining in the heart. When the truth is finally spoken, something begins to change inside. The uncertainty slowly fades, replaced by the peace that only honesty can bring. Sometimes healing comes through reunion. Other times it comes through acceptance. Both can be equally meaningful, and both can lead you toward a healthier future. If this conversation takes place, allow them the opportunity to say everything they have carried inside for so long. Resist the urge to interrupt or jump to conclusions too quickly. Let the full truth unfold before deciding how you truly feel. Listen not only to their words, but also to the sincerity behind them. Then, when it is your turn to speak, respond from a place of calm rather than emotion. Your clarity is far more powerful than any reaction driven by impulse. Take the time you need to decide what truly matches your peace, your values, your boundaries, and the person you have become. Above everything else, remember this. You are not standing in this moment because you are being tested. You are here because you are being given something many people never receive, the truth. Whether that truth leads to reconciliation, understanding, closure, or an entirely different path, it offers something deeply valuable. It offers certainty. You survived the silence that once left you questioning everything. You carried yourself through disappointment. You learned difficult lessons, healed emotional wounds, and became stronger because of experiences that once felt impossible to overcome. Never underestimate how much you have grown or how far you have come. Whatever happens next, never forget the strength that carried you to this point. Before this message comes to an end, pause for just a moment and ask yourself one simple question. What did it awaken inside you? Did it leave you feeling hopeful, peaceful, thoughtful, or perhaps it gave you a sense of clarity you had not felt in a long time? Sometimes life does not place answers in front of us simply to bring another person back into our lives. Sometimes the answers we have been searching for do not arrive to restore what was lost. Instead, they appear to reconnect us with the version of ourselves that became buried beneath disappointment, unanswered questions, or emotional pain. We often believe that clarity must come through another person's actions or explanations, but in reality, the greatest clarity often comes from within. It arrives when you finally recognize your own worth, your own strength, and the lessons your experiences have been trying to teach you all along. If you have spent months or even years wondering why someone entered your life, why they left, or why certain emotions still remain, remember that not every journey is meant to end with reconciliation. Some connections exist to awaken something deep within you. They encourage you to grow, to heal, and to discover parts of yourself that may have remained hidden without that experience. Even painful relationships can become powerful teachers when viewed through the lens of personal growth instead of loss. Never question the honesty of what your heart experienced. If you felt a deep connection with someone, those feelings were real because they were real to you. Your emotions were never imaginary simply because circumstances changed or because the relationship did not unfold the way you hoped. Feelings can be genuine even when the outcome remains uncertain. The value of your love is not measured by whether another person stayed. It is measured by the honesty, kindness, and sincerity with which you gave it. It is also important to let go of the belief that you imagined everything. Not every meaningful connection is meant to last forever in the same form, but every genuine experience leaves behind a lesson, a gift, or a deeper understanding of who you truly are. Trust that every chapter of your journey has shaped you for a reason. Whether this story continues or comes to a peaceful close, you are leaving this experience stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the love, peace, and happiness that truly belong in your life. Many people look back after heartbreak and slowly begin changing the way they remember the past. They convince themselves that they were foolish, that they misunderstood every moment, or that they simply cared too much. But being emotionally open is never a sign of weakness. It simply means you allowed yourself to experience life with honesty and sincerity. That kind of openness is something many people find difficult to embrace. You were never too emotional. In a world where people are often encouraged to hide what they truly feel, expressing genuine emotions can seem uncomfortable. But emotions are not flaws that need to be fixed. They are natural signals that show us what truly matters. Feeling deeply does not mean you are fragile. It means your heart has the courage to connect, to care, and to give itself fully. Those qualities should never become reasons to feel ashamed. Loving someone deeply was never a mistake. Love itself is not what causes suffering. Pain usually grows from unmet expectations, poor communication, fear, or differences that could not be overcome, not from the simple act of caring. Loving with your whole heart is an act of courage because it requires trust, vulnerability, and hope. Even when love is not returned in the way we wish, the ability to love remains one of the most beautiful strengths a person can have. The real lesson is not to stop loving. The lesson is learning how to love without losing yourself. Healthy love allows kindness and compassion while still protecting your own peace. It means respecting your boundaries, honoring your needs, and remembering that your value never depends on another person's ability to recognize it. You can open your heart without giving up your self-respect. You can care deeply while also knowing when it is time to let go. If this message has touched something inside you, allow it to become more than comforting words. Let it become a reminder that choosing truth is always more powerful than holding on to uncertainty. It is easy to become trapped in endless questions about what someone else is thinking or feeling. But lasting peace comes from accepting what is real instead of chasing what remains unknown. Clarity may not always bring the answer you hoped for, but it always gives you the freedom to move forward. Choosing self-respect instead of fear is another important step on the path to healing. Fear often convinces us to accept less than we deserve because we are afraid of losing someone or ending up alone. Self-respect reminds us that meaningful relationships are built on honesty, mutual effort, trust, and emotional responsibility. You deserve relationships where your presence is appreciated, your feelings are respected, and your love is returned with the same sincerity that you freely give. Inner peace begins to grow when you stop measuring your worth through another person's choices. Someone else's inability to recognize your value does not reduce your value. Their silence does not erase your kindness. Their distance does not make your love any less meaningful. Your worth has always existed on its own, independent of anyone else's approval. The more deeply you accept this truth, the less control uncertainty will have over your heart and your life. If you are ready to welcome greater honesty into your journey, let the words, "I choose clarity," become more than a simple comment. Let them become a personal promise to seek truth, even when it feels uncomfortable. Let them remind you to trust your intuition, accept reality with courage, and move toward relationships built on openness instead of confusion. If you are ready to protect your heart while continuing to love with wisdom, let the words, "I know my worth," become a daily affirmation. They reflect the understanding that your value is never earned through another person's attention or affection. It is something that has always belonged to you. Knowing your worth means refusing to chase what repeatedly walks away and choosing instead to invest your time, energy, and love where they are truly valued and appreciated. And if this message found you at exactly the moment you needed to hear it, perhaps there is a reason it spoke so deeply to your heart. Sometimes we come across certain words not because they predict the future, but because they help us better understand the present. They remind us that healing is always possible, growth is always within reach, and every experience, whether joyful or painful, can become part of the person we are meant to become. As you continue your journey, remember that every challenge has helped shape your strength. Every disappointment has taught you something valuable. Every unanswered question has encouraged you to look within and discover a deeper understanding of yourself. No experience is ever truly wasted when it helps you grow into a wiser, stronger, and more compassionate person. Keep moving forward with confidence. Trust your heart, but also trust your wisdom. Believe in love, but never forget to believe in yourself first. The future has a way of unfolding when we stop forcing what is not meant for us and begin embracing what truly aligns with our peace. Thank you for spending this time here. May you continue your journey with clarity, courage, self-respect, and hope. No matter what chapter comes next, never forget that your heart has always been worthy of genuine love, honest connections, and the happiness you have been searching for all along.